Hi, I'm Noel from Inside Out Talent. We work on festivals and we curate stages and we represent artists and all sorts of talent. And we're looking into different sectors, different areas of the entertainment industry and finding out how COVID has impacted on them. Today we're looking at venues and we'll be talking about the creative things that people have been doing, or Ali here specifically, what he's been doing down at Clapham Grand, what it looks like for the future and the kind of numbers and staff things and government support that's been going on. So Ali, hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Hi Noel, how are you?
I'm okay. All right. So yeah, Ali, tell us a little bit about what it is that you do down there, and you work in festivals as well. So your various hats. Tell us about the
many hats.
That you wear.
Biggest hat is the Clapham Grand shaped hat. I'm the one of the managers here, but my primary focus is on the events and the marketing and the production. And my slightly smaller hat is I'm a founder of Mighty Hoopla Festival. Mainly, I run the grand stage at Hoopla and book that with a team of wonderful humans that also run that festival.
So what would the Grand look like on a normal week of programming?
We would probably, God, just trying to imagine that now. We'd be open pretty much every night with anything. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday would primarily be any kind of touring, comedy, drag, live music show. A Thursday, generally speaking, we would do white collar boxing. Was a Thursday, big white collar boxing matches, the police versus the fire brigade, BBC versus Sky, big charity based white collar boxing matches, or bigger drag shows basically on a Thursday. Friday, we'd have Bongos Bingo every Friday, followed by a big club night with a Venga Boys or an S Club 7 or an equivalent type big pop PA act attached to it. Saturday, we'd have a brunch party from midday till 5, followed by a interactive sing-along movie night, followed by our big Saturday night club night. And then on a Sunday, we would probably be doing anything that was booked in, whether it was boxing, comedy, drag, you name it, we would probably book it in.
So you've lost more than most probably during this, because you've got up to 3 things a day on sometimes, rather than just a nightclub that might just open for the late night stuff.
Yeah, we're a venue that does multiple different things. We're not one particular type of site. So navigating our way out of this in terms of what we are actually able to do is complex.
So give us a couple of horrific numbers. How has this really hit you then? You personally and the venue, in terms of how many staff that you're responsible for, etc.
Personally, it's just changed my life in terms of how I spend my days now and what I'm trying to do. But I'd say I've actually, you've just got to crack on, haven't you? You've got to jump over those hurdles and try and get through to the other side. The venue, obviously, badly hit. £50,000 a month rent we pay to a landlord with no revenue, have done since March. The Grand itself as a site can take, on a quiet week, we're taking 60 grand a week. On a busy week, we're taking, double that. We're obviously now taking no money and facing the reality of trying to open up with a limited capacity and a limited availability of programming to try and make up our break-even point is going to be hard. So the venue's obviously been hit really hard. We've got a small team of staff, a mixture of full-time, part-time, 0-hour contract and freelancers who kind of are our family here. We've done everything we can possibly do to help as many people as possible, but we just don't have the funds to, top up furloughs.
And you've been doing loads of things to try and sort of keep going through this, haven't you? So that, you said that 50 grand a month rent. Has there been any leeway in that then? Have you got a friendly landlord?
The contract is we have to pay rent. The landlord is holding us to our rental contract. It's obviously, it obviously is insane that we're paying rent when we're not making any money, because we are forced to be closed. it would be easy to bash landlords because they're weak target, an easy target, because they're the people that are charging you the rent, but they have their own finance. They're operating underneath someone else higher up a food chain.
Yeah.
So yes, obviously there's a certain amount of animosity towards having to pay out on something that pay someone rent on a building you can't trade in. But the other reality is there's people further up that food chain, and it's the government that haven't imposed a rental break, like a mortgage break above, to be passed down through to us, which is what's really doing the damage for venues like us that are still having to pay their rent.
So what's the kind of timescale then? What until you can't pay anymore? I mean, before we go into the things about what you've been doing to try and pay the rent, do you have an idea of how long you can go with?
We do actually. We lost our rent deposit to cover the first 3 months' rent, so that was what got us through Q2, and then this quarter we have crowdfunded 1 month, and we have a bounce back loan to cover the other, which is the exact same amount of the bounce back loan, 50 grand. And we are okay until September. But then come September, we are empty, basically. And we have to navigate trying to open, and what that looks like and how we can bring customers in at that point in time. But obviously doing it without the capability to fund yourself doing it is going to be really tricky. We're going to start another crowdfunder, which is kind of like the long-term aim is to kind of help secure the future of the venue forever rather than just save it. Mm-hmm. We've got excess space within the venue that we could turn into customer space to bring our capacity back up. Because if the capacity is based on the distancing, then you're always going to be limited to how many people you can put in your four walls unless you can suddenly create more space. We are a Victorian theatre that has a disused upper circle, which hasn't been open for 15 years. And if we were to be able to find the resources and the funds to be able to reopen our upper circle, we would get our seated capacity back to where it was before COVID, which would obviously be a huge benefit to our break-even point and our margins, and for all of our promoters who want to hire the venue. A lot of the industry is really, really angry, and a lot of the industry is really scared and sad, and I have all those emotions, but I think you've just got to be positive, and you've got to look for every way you can possibly do to continue to move forward. Everyone's going to have to adjust, everyone's going to have to change and adapt, but at the same time, I can't keep a venue closed forever that's paying rent. It doesn't work.
One of the reasons I wanted to talk to you was because of the cool stuff that you've been doing to help raise the funds and to get you through this mentally as well, I think, but to raise awareness of what's going on. Can you tell us a little bit about the things you've been doing? Specifically the Billy Bragg, the Frank Turner Beans on Toast event. I watched a bit of that. Tell us how all these things went and what you've been up to.
Well, I spent, for me personally, the first 3 weeks of lockdown was really strange to adjust from working. Someone who's, I've trained myself to work 50, 60 plus hours a week because that's what you do when you run a venue, and I've run venues since I was 21 years old. Yeah. And then to suddenly have the handbrake pulled on within like 2 days, and then you're suddenly left. It was really strange. And there's a period of adjustment, and obviously lockdown meant you had to stay in. It was really weird, but I spent a lot of time watching streams. Everyone suddenly seemed to think that streaming was a new invention, but streaming had been around forever. It was just that no one really felt the need to do it themselves because someone else was doing it and it was something else. And I spent a lot of time watching it, and I really ummed and ahed about the Grand should be streaming, should we be trying to be creative on our socials, but I felt like the quality control wasn't there because the tech wasn't quite there. And it was really interesting watching other people navigate through the first hurdles of learning how to do events in Zoom and, Instagram Live and stuff like that. And I enjoyed a lot of it. And I thought for an individual creative person, like a comedian or a drag queen or a singer-songwriter, it gave you the capability to express your art, which you weren't able to do by performing properly. So as soon as the lockdown was relaxed a little bit to allow groups of people to work within distancing of each other, I got back in the Grand and thought, right, let's try and turn it into a TV studio and because in a sense, for me, streaming is actually just creating television. Unless you are an act that has your own material for like an hour and your audience just wants to watch you do that material for an hour, you are in effect creating an online version of a live show, which is in a sense a TV show. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure that if we did something, it had the aesthetic and the creativity and the kind of production values of a TV show. The Save the Grand crowdfunder campaign was, I think, really carried itself through that, because I think people reacted really well to the energy and the creativity that went into creating something for people to engage with, rather than something that was a bit more one-dimensional.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was really fun. I mean, I really miss creating entertainment for people. I don't, like a lot of people, the management side of running a venue is not actually why you come in to do something. You come in to do something because you actually enjoy being a part of the product, even though I'm not on stage myself. Yeah. And having that, like, the energy attached to thinking about how someone can absorb what you're doing, and you can create that experience for someone online rather than in the room, I really enjoyed it.
There was more than just the Frank Turner one, wasn't there?
Yeah, so we did 3 big drag shows. We did one every week on a Wednesday, I think it was, which just the quality got better and better every time we did it. You just learn straight away what works, what doesn't. We did a reggaeton event with our reggaeton promoter. We got Artful Dodger to DJ a club night. We got our dance team here, did a 12-hour all-day dance along to raise money for the campaign.
And this is getting, again, the community and getting other people involved in this. And was it difficult to persuade people to come on board? I'm guessing not. It's all people you've met before and over the years, and they all come together to.
Yeah, the Grand is a lovely place to work in and a lovely place to put shows in and perform in, and a lot of people have got a lot of love for it. So there were people that just automatically volunteered to help, and there were people also naturally, I think, wanted to have an avenue to perform in.
Yeah, that's helped us through a lot of this as well, is trying to make people smile still and still have a passion for something, and to just keep it going, keep your day-to-day going in terms of who you work with and who you talk to. And it's when you sit on your own and start to think too much that it becomes an issue, becomes a problem. So have you got anything else up your sleeve then?
I really want to carry on doing stream shows, but there is a cost attached to it. They're not, if you want to do them really well, they're not cheap to do. Yeah. So I need to, it's finding a way to make them financially viable as ongoing projects outside of existing as a good exercise to engineer donations is key. I actually think there's something really valid in having a stream service alongside the Grand when it opens properly, because I think a lot of the feedback I got from the shows we got was there's a lot of people out there who don't actually feel comfortable going out anyway. Let alone potentially people who have medical conditions that will prevent them going out, even with physically distanced precautions post-COVID. There are people in general who actually, and if you think about it, it does make sense. Like if you think about the environment you go and watch most bands in, up until the point where they're playing, arena shows, it is an environment that is very much suited to a certain lifestyle choice, a certain way of wanting to experience content. And if you are, if you have anxiety about being in large groups of people, if you have accessibility issues, if you just don't enjoy being out, you are quite limited in experiencing that product a bit. And when we did the Frank Turner show, a lot of the comments in the chat room were people just saying, I really like the fact that I don't like going out. This is great for me because I just, for whatever reason. And I think that's actually something that's really a really valuable thing to take out of this, is that it's good to give people the opportunity to experience something from home. And then geographically as well. Some people just don't live near the venues that put on the shows that they want to go to. Not everyone can tour every part of the country, and not everyone can travel to every show. Yeah,
that's a great angle. I really like that. We've talked with a few people about and the subject of streaming and keeping that going through when this is over as well. And so the streaming sits side by side with the shows that they're doing, or whether that be out of necessity or as a choice to keep it ongoing. but I think you're the first that's kind of mentioned that side of it. Of you are reaching a new audience of people that want to maybe want to watch the show, but they don't want to go out and be in that environment. So you're actually broadening those, opening those doors wider, aren't you?
I think everyone's looking at solutions for short-term solutions for the problems that are affecting people from the business point of view. But I think there's another angle here, which is, it's not just about our businesses, it's about the audiences that come to our businesses. And we need to think about them as we reopen and facilitate them still being able to enjoy the product that we want to put on.
Does that affect how you'll be opening and the kind of things, like you might be able to put some things on but not others? So you might have a more gradual opening, whereas others will have to wait until they can do the thing they do. And the support then, have you, that campaign, the Let the Music Play one, there was the 1.5 billion that was announced. Does any of that, do you think any of that is going to reach you?
Yeah, it's in the safe actually upstairs. Multiple questions there to tackle. I think in terms of the money from that, the 1.57 billion, trillion, million, zillion, whatever it is that they've said to get everyone to stop moaning, who knows is the answer to that. I don't know. I imagine it'll go to the Arts Council and there'll be an application process for non-profit arts first.
They've suggested that part of that will go to festivals as well, I believe.
Which is good, 100%. They've been missed off this map, and as someone that obviously runs a festival, 100% necessary. I think for venues like us, we're a bit tricky because we're not a nightclub, we're not a comedy venue, we're not a live music venue, we're not a theatre, we're a variety hall, and there's not many of them around. So there's when you don't fall into one niche, sometimes you don't get taken on that journey that other people go on because people don't quite know. We've got so many different audiences think about the Grand in so many different ways. It can be a bit tricky. It's tricky for us when we're open because you can't market. It's hard to market something that's quite multifaceted. So it has been a bit tricky because I don't really know. I think people might, the clubbing world thinks we're a bit of a theatre, or they think we're a bit cheesy. We are obviously a bit, not cheesy is not the word. We're just fun.
Diverse, that's the objective, isn't it? Make people smile.
Which is ultimately the objective of everything, is to make everything fun. And it's bloody hard to think about how you can make things fun when the big fun things that people enjoy doing, you can't let them do. Which is singing and dancing.
Do you ever have seated events?
I would say actually a huge amount of our percentage of our programming is seated.
Okay. So do you think that might be what comes back first? Do you think it's going to be a gradual thing? You'll do some of your program and not other bits? First
of all, you can't just open your doors and people turn up. We're not a pub. Like the Royal Vauxhall Tavern is a cabaret space that also operates as a pub, and you open up the doors and people come. The Blues Kitchens, your old Queen's Head, like a lot of these venues are now opening, and it's amazing that they can open, but they're opening because people come to them because they've got a food and drinks offering that people come to irrespective of entertainment. The entertainment is a layer, not the mainstay. We are an event space. You're coming to the Grand because you've got a ticket to watch a performance and a show that's taking place on the stage. And if you can't put on the performance and the show that's taking place on that stage, your audience aren't coming. And if you have to adjust your product to the point where you're dialing it down, that it's not actually a recognizable product that people want to come and experience, that's not going to work either.
And the question of whether they're comfortable doing that as well.
That's the other thing is you've got complications in what you're allowed to put on as entertainment. Then you've got complications in what you're allowed in your audience's engagement, whether they can sing, dance, whether the fact you've got a physically distanced room means that the energy and the atmosphere level makes it a completely unenjoyable experience. And then on top of all of that, you've got the fact that you don't know if people actually are comfortable coming out. And I think every club promoter and venue promoter is guilty of sitting here thinking, Jesus Christ, people are banging our door down to come back again, because you're banging your door down to get people to come back again. But whether or not they are or not is a different kettle of fish.
Which brings us on to the phone call or contact you've had. The government have been in touch. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so we when I heard the government were going to be asking venues to put on pilot events, I was like, well, that feels like something we should definitely try and be on the front foot of. So I sent an application form in, and they came back and confirmed it, which is fantastic. So next week we're now preparing ourselves to put on a physically distanced show. I've certainly been guilty of forgetting about the fact that there needs to be an audience in the room, and the audience in the room now need to have the attention put on them, rather than it just being the attention is being put on the show, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So we're now in the throes of getting ourselves ready to obviously try and open up for one event, just to see how that works.
We've spoken with Butlins. You've worked with those guys before. They're doing pilots as well. As of, I think, the next week or two. So we're going to see a lot of changes, I think, in the next couple of weeks. About how to cope with these things, and they've done loads already to change their stages, and in fact, they'd already spent loads of money to work out how they could do it internally before they realised what was going to happen. So they kind of got stuff in place already, and they actually invested. I think they were one step ahead of everyone else in terms of being almost ready to go on it and trial things. So everything is outside at the moment. We don't know how long that's going to be. And you work in festivals as well. So tell us a little bit about the Hoopla, what it is, and what the plan is going forward there. I believe it's all coming back next year. What have you had to do?
I mean, 100%. Hoopla. So Hoopla is it's hard to describe it other than it's just an absolutely incredibly fun day out. Started off as being a collection of some of London's biggest, most fun, immersive kind of club nights. Guilty Pleasures, Sink the Pink. I was running Rebel Bingo at the time. Ultimate Power. And we all just took over Butlins for a big, mad, fun weekend of basically club nights and silliness, which was very bizarre, but very, very fun. Yeah. And grew from there to become a one-day festival. Started off in Victoria Park and then moved to Brockwell Park for the last 2 years, and we started adding talent to it, part kind of throwback pop, but also trying to keep the lineup good with relevant new pop acts as well. We've had Lily Allen, obviously, has played. TLC headlined. I still can't believe TLC headlined a festival that I put on. Shaka Khan and Mel C, obviously. Yes, Mel C formed the drag Spice Girls on stage. Yeah. It's an incredible day out, basically. Good vibes, just incredible atmosphere, great fun, entertainment. Like, entertainment as entertainment should be, just pure fun. And the energy and the atmosphere of the crowd that go is phenomenal. And we were on course this year to sell out for the first time, well in advance of the date. It was going to be, the lineup was brilliant. Actually, my friend here was headlining, and obviously it's been cancelled, but there's no doom and gloom attached to Mighty Hoopla whatsoever. We're going to be back bigger than ever next year.
Yeah, that's. It's good to hear it's back. That's thanks for.
Yeah, it's hard to say this because some businesses aren't going to come out of this, and I don't want to sound blasé about anything. But the Grand will get through this. Mighty Hoopla will come back. Business, we have to be positive about doing everything we can possibly do to move forward with what we do, and that's the attitude I'm taking on it all.
Have you? We talked about using your space for streaming and stuff. Are you able to use it currently to do things in the daytime as well, to hire out the space? You talk about it in the long term, but is that something you're able to start monetizing now?
Yeah, we are. It's still, the market's not quite there yet. There's location shoots and film shoots. People do use the space without customers in it, and that is beginning to creep back in. But that market is a very small percentage of the business, and the complexities of having a space that still needs to trade for the public that can also be completely perfect for a film company. With the, it's tricky to find that balance. It's certainly not something that is going to make a dramatic difference to our finances as it stands. And I'm not being negative about that. And we are obviously pushing to explore those avenues, but it's not it's not going to hold the business up in light of operating at 75 capacity less than we normally do.
There's a couple of spaces now that have sort of been created to do like album launches and things with bands and performances, where you can hire those spaces out specifically to do streaming, like we talked about. So, but they're individual spaces. They're not actual venues. So I'm wondering if that's going to happen a bit more now, that venues will be used for local artists and stuff to come down and use those spaces. But again, there's no money for either party really, and it's only the next few that are going to be able to afford, the kind of artists that will be able to afford to do that and use that.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is you're not getting any boost sales. It's, our business, the venue industry is geared towards the revenue generated off of the bar is alongside your hire fee. You take that bar revenue out of a deal and your hire fee is vastly increased to compensate. It's a completely different business model for a venue to operate on, as opposed to a location base.
So I think finally I'm asking everyone for their to get their crystal balls out and tell us what give us a positive spin, some words of encouragement, a positive spin, and how you think this will all pan out, and when in your mind.
We are by nature a creative group of people in the industry that we exist in, and I also think we are very good at customer service and we're very good at hospitality. By nature of dealing with of being able to deal with the issues that arise by putting large numbers of people into a venue drunk, we are all very good at problem preventing and looking after people as well as entertaining people. And I think the adjustment will come. People have to adjust from the negativity attached to the scenario and embrace the positive. Financial implications are obviously immense, but ultimately people will work through. We'll find a way to make it work, because that's just what we do. Being entertained, being social is inherent in human nature. It's not inherent in human nature to be physically distanced from each other and to not congregate en masse to enjoy entertainment. We will work within the guidelines to look after safety, but we will find a way to, physically distanced is what we're implementing. We're not implementing social distancing. Social distancing is not going out. People being physically apart from each other, but not socially apart from each other.
Well, good luck. Thanks for doing this, Ali. I think, you've put every chat that I've done. I think this is the last one now of this series, which I did to get to sort of chat to people and keep my sanity and find out. It has been really interesting to find everyone's got a little different spin and a little different take on it. So putting all those together has created a nice list of positives and creativity and different angles that people work. So thank you very much for doing this. I wish you all the best. I hope the pilots go well. And I hope I'll see you in a venue again soon.
I look forward to it, Noel. Thank you so much.
Good luck.